Okay guys, let's just talk. Let's talk. This is not gonna be me talking, this is gonna be us talking. Hi guys and welcome to my review of chapter 839 of One Piece. And wow, this chapter really tugged the heartstrings. If you saw my live reaction, I was close to tears at many points and there were many jump cuts for reasons. But yeah, in all, like, when all is considered, I feel like this chapter was mostly about like the emotions and not so much about like the story. Like, we had like obvious story plot points that I'm obviously gonna cut into, which is why this video is not 2 minutes long. But let me just like get all of the like emotional stuff out of the way, because I feel like much of this chapter was re-establishing just how different Sanji is from like the rest of his family. So we have the very moving scenes of Sanji and food, where he's like, you need to finish the food, and he's like, I don't like the food, and then he calls in the head chef and tries to throw the food at her because he doesn't like it, and Sanji goes into like, first he saves her, then he starts explaining why they shouldn't waste food and why this food was good and nutritious and stuff like that, and then he starts eating it off the floor, which they all of course disapprove of, and that's like a very, very touching scene. But in terms of story, like, it doesn't really get us anywhere. We just re-established that they all hate each other and that they can't really see eye to eye on anything. And we have a lot of that in this chapter, but you read the chapter, so I won't go into that because I don't feel like that's worthy of a discussion. It's just great. The one thing I will talk about though in these like emotional scenes is that, if you notice, I said this in my live reaction like all the time whenever Rachel was there, but Rachel is always like different. She always has, when Sanji like took the plate, when Niji like threw the plate and Sanji caught it, we had a panel of Rachel just being like, wow, such a gentleman, and she does this a lot. I said this too in my live reaction, which I feel like is just her way of being like, I don't know how to say this, but she's being like observing and casually just commenting on what's going on and making it seem like she's not being kind to Sanji, but like they underestimated him, because everything, when she does this, everything is like, oh, I didn't expect him to be that strong, oh, he's such a gentleman, like it's all praise, but it's not like, the look on her face, it's like she's not really like impressed, or she's not like, well, I mean, okay, so he's a bit stronger than we thought, I mean, that's great, I guess. Do you see what, yeah, and we have another panel where Sanji is like, every fiber of my body is against you, like, I just hate everything about you. And then we see like all the Vinsmokes, we have Papa and the three brothers, and then on the next page we have Reiju. Why couldn't she be featured in that? Is it because she's a good person or a bad person? I want to go bad person because it's really cliche if she's like the good woman character. Unfortunately, I feel like we're going more and more in the direction of Reiju being a good person, which I really like. Oda, please make her bad. Yeah, I feel like that's important to note, that Reiju often seems to have her own panels and her own like expressions, and she's like, she reacts to things differently than her brothers, basically. Going back to the beginning of the chapter, I want to talk about the motives and like what the Vinsmokes want with like their nation or their power, because in their live reaction, I said I was confused about like how the world government hadn't figured out that the Germa 66 worked in the Germa kingdom. Like, that didn't make any sort of sense to me. But I think I might, like, in the hour that I just spent thinking, I might have like figured it out. So what I'm thinking here is, and it might be obvious to some of you, but I'm just really slow, I guess, that the Vinsmokes, like, they're the royals, right? So that's just like, that's the ones who are permitted to participate in the reverie. Like, that's the Vinsmokes, but they don't know that the Vinsmokes actually have like this sailing nation of these weird Dendamushis, but because it would be hard to track, right? So for the Vinsmokes, it's just like their name that lives on, it's not their kingdom. And then I think it's Papa Vinsmoke who says that sooner rather than later, they will probably not be allowed to participate in the reverie anymore. Whether that means that they will be completely thrown out of the world government, or they just won't be able to participate because they don't really have anything to contribute, because they of course don't know about their like military army and their possibly vast network of whatever, not spies, but like they must have like good information in like the north at least. So yeah, obviously the world government wouldn't really see them as something as spectacular as they of course are. But he says that when they are eventually not allowed to participate in the reverie, then it'll be a step closer to their ambition. So I'm thinking now that what they really want, like, of course they want to take over the North and like, King of the North, yay! Reference. But what they want to be is independent, so kind of like Wano, who's like an independent nation who's not a part of the world government, because I feel like these are some stuck up assholes, right? I'm gesturing to my computer, which you can't see. Yeah, they're stuck up, and they are power hungry, and they probably don't want anyone to be above them, and being part of the world government, you will always have someone above them, like the Gorosei, the Tenryubito, other people I might be forgetting about here. But they won't be like the ones in control, they'll always have to like follow the rules of the world government, set them, and while they do say that they don't want to be pirates, because I think it's Ichiji who's like, okay Yonji, if we just like play both sides and just like, you know, let one of them win, took all of their money, like that would make us pirates basically. So obviously they don't want that, but they want to govern themselves. That is probably their main goal here. And let me just like talk a little bit about what that might mean for the future, because I probably won't do a video about this topic that small. But they'll like, the thing is, we're this far in the story that there's no point in introducing this insanely strong military army with that's so far advanced in technology if we're not gonna see them after this arc, right? So the question is here, what will actually happen to the Germa 66 or like just the Germa Kingdom or the Vinsmokes after this? Because that's actually another thing I want to talk about before I get too into this. Because we have them basically that like they bind Sanji on hands and feet, like physically and mentally, since like he has the handcuffs, and they have taken Seth hostage and like all the people at the Barity, and they know everything about him, so he's like, okay, fuck, I can't do anything, because if I do anything to oppose him, they have said that they will literally kill like the man that I owe my life to. So like Sanji's not in a good place, obviously. But here's the thing, because Sanji obviously won't get married, he won't like in the end he'll be with the Straw Hats, like that's no doubt that's what's gonna happen. But how will they keep them from killing Seth? Because they won't go back to the East Blue to be like, hey Seth, there are these people after you, maybe you should like migrate to the south or something. Like, that's not a thing that will happen, and it's not like they can call anyone up and be like, hey, we have this restaurant that we want to save, but we can't really go there right now, so can you just, like, please take care of it? Like, what would they even do? They would have to literally kill everyone. Or something. Like, how... A possible solution to this might be that the one who actually holds the information is Big Mom, and if they, like, ally themselves with her or, like, become friendly with her, then maybe they could, like, let her not give the Vinsmokes the information that she has. Like, be like, okay, we saved Lola, so could you please, like, save Seth? Like, a life for a life? Maybe? Like, I just don't know at this point, because I feel like even if, like, Big Mom is, like, the one to pull the strings here, again, the Vinsmokes seem like they want to be independent. They seem to be the ones who want to be in power. So, what's stopping them from killing Seth when Sanji eventually isn't gonna get married? But back to like the point that I was making about what like the point of the Vinsmokes and the Germa 66 is in the story going forward. I feel like Papa Vinsmoke is gonna be defeated, and he probably, like, they'll probably be like, okay, he's not gonna die. This is One Piece, he's not gonna die. But something will happen and he won't be the head of the Germa. I think I've said this at some point, but it's probably so far back in my videos that no one ever actually paid attention to that. So he's like, Ichiji or Reiju or someone is going to take over the Germa 66, and then they'll end up... I don't actually know where they'll end up, because they're obviously not gonna be like allied with the Jawheads, like that much is obvious. But they're not really gonna ally themselves with the world government, and then, of course they're not on the revolutionary side, because if they were, they'd be like overthrown themselves. It's just, this is like, right now I'm not doing a review, I'm doing a discussion because I want you people to like give me your theories and your like answers, I guess, because there are so many questions about so many things, and while like this chapter kind of answered some things, but it just raises so many more questions. And I feel like One Piece is like that in general, especially like in the beginning of an arc where you just have like 1,000 questions, and then like in the next chapter you just like, you get one answer and 1,000 other questions. So, please, engage in discussion here. That's what I want in this video. I want to engage in a discussion. I will probably reply to everyone who has something to say. So yeah. So like the obvious thing to talk about in this chapter is of course the ending, where we have Yonji basically leading Sanji with the false hope of going to Niji after he's like almost killed the head chef, which was really cute. I don't know if I mentioned that at any point in this review discussion thing, but the girl is like really cute. But Yonji then leads Sanji to this, I was about to call it a secret lab, but it's not really secret. They knew that it was there, they just didn't know what was behind the doors. But we see a bunch of these Germa subjects in tubes, which like it almost confirms the theory that the Germa are like experts at creating artificial life. There is like a long-standing theory of the Vinsmoke children being made artificially. Personally, I'm not too keen on that idea because for me, Sanji and Usopp have always been like the two most human characters in the crew. But it would be an interesting twist. I wouldn't be totally against the idea. Also, like, it would be different. I haven't really... Like, Oda has done, like, cyborgs and robots and stuff like that, but he hasn't really done artificial life in that sense. At least not from my memory right now. From my memory, from what I recall. What I'm thinking with this panel, too, is that we see that like, obviously we have the Germa soldiers just, like, being in the tubes. But would it then make sense too, like, if they're artificial life, is it then impossible to like kill them completely? Like, you can take them down on a battlefield, but like, if they just go back into the lab, then you can like restore them? Because we've seen that the Germa soldiers, like, the Vinsmokes, they don't hesitate to just like use them as pawns. Like, if they want a wall of humans, then they get a wall of humans. And while that does seem really cruel, the more you think about it, it actually doesn't make sense because they're such a small nation, and just like sacrificing their henchmen right and left, that would eventually leave them with a really small army. And we do see, let me just check for a second though. Yeah, we see the guy who Judge impaled in the chapter where him and Sanji fought. Like, I'm pretty sure that the guy we see at the left panel, that's the same dude. See, guys? It's the same guy who was in the tube, so he's not actually dead even though he got impaled by Judge. See? Yeah. So yeah, I think it's either that they're like artificial from the beginning, or that they, like, the people, like people who actually come to join the military, they have their bodies modified, so it's not that they're completely artificial, but they're like a cyborg, but just like more, with more biology, if you get what I mean with this. So you start off as a normal human, then you come into them, you come to the German kingdom, you train and you do your stuff and all that, and you get slowly modified so that even if you're impaled, you won't be killed. Which is then like, it goes back again to the Vinsmoke children, because are they then artificial humans, or are they modified humans? Because again, we've seen like Yonji seems to be a cyborg. Sanji obviously isn't a cyborg. So they must be different, but the question is it because that Yonji was modified later, or was it because like they were meant from the beginning to be different, so that Yonji was a cyborg, Niji was some kind of electricity dude, Ichiji was a fire type, Sanji was a swordsman. Sounds a little weird compared to the others, which are like actual things. Reiju would like, and that raises the question again. Reiju, right? Is Reiju's power then something that's artificially made or a devil fruit? Because at this point in the story, I think like 99% of us have been like, okay, it must be a devil fruit, because how would you make that? Like, using technology, how would you be able to suck out the poison from someone and put it into your own body and then not die from it? Like, how would that even work? Also, like, her wings did something. So, like, the butterfly devil fruit, like, there's like some special type of butterfly that can do stuff like that. Roger Space made a theory about this. But could it be that she's just modified so it makes sense? This video has no red line whatsoever, like, red line. It's, like, this is a discussion, I've said this. I just really want your guys' opinion on this chapter, because I feel like there are many things that we can discuss, but I don't want to just, like, sit here and talk about it. I'd rather interact with you, yeah? Exchange ideas, if you see what I mean. I put out my basic thoughts on everything here and speculate about stuff. But I will stop now, because I feel like this has dragged on and I haven't really been talking about the chapter too much. The chapter was great though, the art was really amazing. I did catch that Oda forgot to draw Sanji's beard at some points, but it's okay. Actually, like, just one little tiny side note, have you noticed how Sanji's the only one who has a beard? Could that, like, be a symbolism for, like, maturity? Yeah. Either way, guys, I'm gonna stop here. Leave a like if you liked anything that I ramble on about. Yeah. And please leave in the comments below, like, any thoughts you have in the chapter. It doesn't even have something that I talked about. Just, like, give me every single thought you have in every, like, the last panel could be anything. Anything. The slightest thought would be my greatest pleasure to read. And yeah, you can subscribe to me if you want to see more of me. I do reviews of Shingeki no Soma, Haikyuu, Boku no Hero Academia, and One Piece anime, and of course, One Piece. So yeah, if you're into any of those, you can subscribe to me, and until next time, bye!